Welcome to the Forest City Tribune Podcast. Tonight's topic, gun rights and the reality of sexism. In the wake of last weekend's massacre in California, we examine gun rights, gun control, and the battle between men's rights and feminism. And now, here's your host, John Thomas Hill. And welcome to the show, everybody. Been a while since we've done one. I've been kind of busy with my new job, basically burning to death. I'm glad I have a job. It's a very simple job. I'm basically a waterer at Lowe's. I water the plants. It ain't the most glamorous job in the world, but it's a job, and until I find something a little bit better, either at Lowe's or somewhere else. So I'm happy about it. It's a cool job. It's not rocket science, so. But let's just say I'm realizing that, I ain't a young buck anymore. I'm an old guy that's not necessarily cut out for being out in the sun for extended periods of time anymore. Anyhow, tonight's topic is the gun rights and the reality of sexism. Two different topics. Let's face it. The guy that committed this massacre this past weekend really pisses me off because he comes across as an entitled guy. Maybe he was troubled, I don't know, but it's like this. There were posts after the massacre on various pickup line sites, whatever, pickup guy sites, whatever it is, and other so-called men's rights sites that basically say, well, since the women didn't want to give him what he wanted, he had to take action. Coming from a guy who's not really had that much success with the women, let me, first of all, shoot that thing straight to hell. No pun intended. I've always had a problem of going for women who are basically outside of my league, basically. And, when you're basically reaching up for the brass ring instead of trying to find more reachable fruit, so to speak, there is a lot of frustration. But I've accepted it because I don't want to date a woman who, to be perfectly frank, isn't worthy of me. I'll be that honest with you. That sounds arrogant, but I'm someone with high standards. I want a very intelligent woman, a woman who isn't afraid to be outspoken, opinionated, someone who's compassionate, who is caring, they don't have to be perfect. Hell, I'm 43 years old. I'm single. I've been single all my life, save for 10 years ago, and that was a disaster. We won't ever go back into that. And that's the only time I ever lowered my standards. And I paid for it. So, this jerk, who's burning in hell right now, I'll be that blunt about it, goes out and posts a manifesto, kills his roommates for some odd reason, maybe to stop him from warning people about what's about to happen. His parents find this and try in vain to search for their son. They're calling the police and all this. And before anything can be done to stop this guy, he's killed a few women, shooting them up. Now, I've heard the parents did what they could to help their son. So I kind of backed off smashing the parents like I usually do in situations like this because I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of parents who, frankly, in this day and age, don't give a shit for their kids. Not the way that my mom did. And my mom, God rest her soul, did as much as she could given the circumstances she lived under. And if she were still here, she'd be the first to admit that she wasn't perfect. She could have done more. And that makes her a great parent in my mind because she realized that she could have done more. I think any good parent, when their kids are grown, will admit that they could have done more. They could have done better for their kids. So, and if I had kids, I'd probably be feeling the same way. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this guy decided that these women should sleep with him, and because they dared not to, that they deserve to die. Okay? They are dead now. And he's dead. And once again, the ugly rearing battle of, the battle of gun control versus gun rights. Look, we could go round and round and round. It's very simple, in my opinion. Treat a gun like a car. Have a license to prove, yes, I know how to operate a gun capably. Renew it every 5 years or so for $20. Yes, you don't like giving money to the government, but hey, you got to have government in order for roads to be paved, for other things to happen. And it's 4 or 5 every 4 or 5 years. So I'm sure you can scrape up the shekels to render upon Caesar once in a while. And modest gun controls. Don't take your assault rifle to Chili's or Chipotle or Starbucks or any place else. These idiots, the open carry Texas guys. What have you seen these idiots? They're taking semi-automatic weapons, rifles, into these restaurants. Talk about shooting your cause in the foot. I've seen some really stupid things in my life, but that's like trying to stop pornography by showing pornography. Hey, we're all for gun rights, and we're going to scare the hell out of you by brandishing guns and making you think we're going to rob the place. These aren't responsible gun owners. These are idiots who want to go, hey, me Tarzan, me got gun, me big man. Responsible gun owners are fine. I'm fine with them. They keep their semi-automatic rifles protected away from potential theft. If you've got a gun on you, then there is a chance in a scuffle that gun could be taken away from you. And I don't care how well trained you are or anything like that, there is that chance. I was a security guard for well over a decade. And I was glad I was an unarmed security guard because at the very least, I knew my own gun would not have been used against me if I had one. More often than not, the best thing you can do in a situation like that is just to let the gunmen do their business and as soon as they're out of sight, call the police. But for some reason in this country, it seems like that every time there's a massacre like this, that's what it is, a massacre, the gun rights people freak out. The Joe the Plumber guy, who was infamous in the 2008 election, said, well, I'm sorry your kids are dead, but your kids' deaths don't trump my rights to own a gun. Sympathetic now, aren't we? Hello, you could say, I understand the sorrow you would go under. Let us not forget that, let us not be rash and take away legitimate gun rights. Let's do what we can to make sure this doesn't happen again. And this is the problem with the gun rights movement. There's no give in them. They don't understand that a little bit of gun control isn't going to mean Obama's going to bring the ATF and take all your guns, blah, 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 blah. It's this stupid fear of government. This Alex Jones bullshit, pardon my French. Alex Jones is a fraud. Alex Jones is a complete and utter fraud. He is a charlatan who makes money off the paranoia of stupid people who think for some reason in the freest country in the world, although that is kind of changing considering things that the government is doing that is actually basically being supported by conservatives, but I digress. Here's the thing. Obama's been in office for over 5 years now. Did I miss something? Did he have a huge roundup of guns? Has he stormed into the local gun dealerships and gun shows and all this and have his forces take away all these guns? He's been in office for 5.5 years. Surely he would have done it by now. He doesn't have to face election anymore. I mean, hey, why don't you just declare martial law and do whatever the hell he wants to? That's a good idea. I want to be everybody calls me a dictator. What the hell? I'll be a dictator then. You want to see a dictator? I'll go ahead and do it. He hadn't done it. But yet every time one of these things happened, like Sandy Hook, there was an idiot who took away a sign at a memorial playground and it had the gall to call the mother of one of those who were killed and say, your child did not exist. Whoever that guy is should be thrown out of the damn country. That's not American. The Second Amendment was not meant for you to brandish semi-automatic weapons in a restaurant. Okay? It was meant at a time when citizens feared legitimately that the British Army might come back and take the country away from them and put us back under colonial rule. Now, I'm fine with legitimate, responsible gun ownership. I'm fine with background checks. I'm fine with mandatory safety classes. You know, if you're a gun owner, if I were a gun owner, I would be more than happy to do all this. I'd say, hey, yes, I conceal and carry, but I'm legitimately licensed. I'm keeping it inconspicuous as I possibly can. I'm just doing this for my own protection, and I have no ill intent. And here's the problem. Remember that guy, that idiot in Georgia who went to a park where the kids were playing baseball and started yelling out, hey, I got guns, you can't stop me, blah, 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 blah. How in the world can you not fear, as a parent, that guy might decide to start shooting? How the hell can you not fear that? Seriously. I'm beside myself at how stupid the NRA and the gun lobby is. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. They're not interested in gun owners. They're only interested in gun manufacturers. And hey, if crazy people can't buy guns, that cuts into our profit margin. Therefore, everybody should be able to have a gun. How many more horror stories are we going to have to go through before we realize we need better gun control, better enforcement of current gun laws, and basic common sense gun ownership laws? It's stupid the way that this whole garbage is going on. It really, truly is. And it constantly amazes me that you've got people who embrace this and act like that it's their God-given right to have any gun they want. Just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Taking a AK-47 or whatever the hell that rifle is into your local McDonald's, slinging over your shoulder like you're some mercenary and ordering a Big Mac isn't going to win you popularity points in most communities in this country. Because guess what most people are going to think when they see a gun like that? Oh my God, they're going to do, this guy's a nut, he's going to do something rash. Responsible gun owners will lock the gun in their car, put a lock on their rifle, and if something crazy happens, guess what? Are you sure you can handle yourself in that situation? Let's say the guy comes in with an AK-47 or whatever the hell it is, AO5. I don't know. I don't know any damn rifles. So let's say the guy has his semi-automatic rifle slung over his shoulder. Everybody's nervous around him, and all of a sudden, 3 gangsters come in, decide to rob the place. They've got guns too. Now, the smart thing is for the customers to get on the floor, the cashiers to give up the money because McDonald's is insured through the ass, and to cooperate with the robbers as completely as possible because your money is less important than your life. But there's this guy with a gun. Now, the robbers aren't intending to shoot anything up. Have there been times when, yeah, they did? Yes. But that's very, very rare. More often than not, the gun is only used to make sure nobody does anything to prevent them from getting what they want, basically. So you got this guy who decides he wants to act like Rambo. Now, I've known people who've been in battle. If you've never been in battle, you have no idea what it's like to face off with somebody that is firing back at you. It's one thing to fire a gun. It's another thing to fire a gun when the other guy is firing a gun at you. Or something worse than that. I've known people who've been in battle, and they are braver souls than I am. I'm not a coward, but let's just say I don't exactly regret never going into battle, okay? Because I'm not a great shot to begin with, so anyhow. What would more than likely happen in that scenario? The guy with the semi-automatic rifle would probably be dead. He probably would not have taken out any of the robbers, maybe at best one, perhaps even 2. And a lot of innocent people would be dead or wounded. The fact of the matter is, it's illegal guns that are the problem. And if we crack down on them as well, then we can go a long way to ending a lot of the gun violence. We won't get it all done. We're too in love with our guns in this country. And that's the problem. We are too in love with them. And I don't mind people having guns. I choose not to have one. Somebody comes in my house and points a gun at me and says, "Give me all your valuables." Go right ahead. Take what you want. I say, as long as you let me live, I can always buy a new TV. I can always buy a new iPhone. I can always buy a new computer. I can always buy a new TV, whatever. It's not essential for my function in life. But being riddled with holes, yeah, that's a different story. And to me, cooler heads need to prevail in this, but unfortunately, with the era of right-wing media and the inevitable left-wing response to that, there are no cooler heads in government anymore. There's no cooler heads anywhere, it seems like, except somebody like me. And that's scary. All right, now the second part of this. There's a hashtag, and I've forgotten what it's called. I think it's We All Women or something like that. That a friend of mine on Facebook had a huge argument with another friend of mine who's not fully invested in the men's rights movement, but is sort of sympathetic to it. And the men's rights movement, for those of you who may not know, came out of the old way they used to determine custody of children. It's not entirely like that today, but in the old days, basically, if a couple divorced, the woman would automatically get the child. The man would have to pay child support. It did not matter what kind of mother the woman was, or how good the father was, or the capabilities of each. If the father was a much better provider, would be a much better parent, the system was set up that the mom would automatically get the kids. Now, the men's rights movement, I've looked into it in the past, and there are some legitimate beefs, primarily with custody. But it went from being a good idea to kind of rally men to basically give them their own fair shake in custody hearings and whatnot. And there was a legitimate gripe there. To the point now where it's basically where it's gotten to the point where it's basically trying to restore chauvinism, essentially. It's a reaction, I guess, to feminism. And feminists have gained a lot in the last 4 or 5 decades or so, since feminism really started to take root in America. Obviously, there were a lot of backlash. I mean, I remember the Equal Rights Amendment and the stupidity that the right wing would bring up, like, oh my God, next thing you know, women are going to want to play football. Yeah, so let them play football. They want to have their own football team, go right ahead. The asinine arguments, and as I was a kid, I realized they were asinine. The religious right were pushing against equal rights because they did not want, it was a political thing. They knew more women would generally vote Democratic than for Republicans. It had nothing to do with the Bible. It had nothing to do with the Christian tradition of the man being the head of the family. It's all about politics. Women generally vote Democratic. Therefore, the Equal Rights Amendment is a bad idea because it would empower more women, and therefore more women would realize, hey, I can run for office, I can become president one day, and that is a scary, scary thought. It's probably one of the reasons why I'll vote for Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren in 2016, because I like taking the piss out of those old codgers who think that it's still a man's world. And I'm not entirely, a Clinton file, so to speak. Hillary's got her plenty of baggage and such, but this whole Benghazi bullcrap is enough already. Hello? During George W. Bush's administration, there were 8 attacks on our embassies and consulates that resulted in deaths. 5 others where no one was killed. And of course, there was the fact they did, in fact, drop the ball on 9/11. When they were warned an attack was coming, yet they did not do anything to stop it. Sure, they may not have been able to stop the attack itself, but they didn't even try to stop it. And we'll get into that one other night. But let's go back to feminism versus the men's rights movement. The problem with feminism today is, it's in some cases it's like with the civil rights movement. The vast majority of African Americans just want a equal workplace, equal America, where basically they're treated the same way as white people, and everybody else for that matter. There are some who want some payback, and they'll use it to their advantage. Now, we all know Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson are two of those that kind of like to tweak anything like this because, hey, it's their bread and butter. And Jesse Jackson has a long, great career as a civil rights person, but in recent years he's kind of taken the role of more, he's leaned more toward Al Sharpton than anything else. And he's done more, and those two have done more to harm race relations than to help them. We can never, ever fully undo the pain of slavery in this country. And reparations, while they may sound like a good idea, how much, that's putting a dollar amount on how much your ancestors were worth. It's incalculable. And, you know, and if you ever, we really ever went into it, it would become such a problematic, it would rip this country apart. But sadly, there are people who don't understand that some things you can never repair. Same goes for feminism. For the vast majority of our Western civilization, men viewed women as property. That is a fact. Sure, there were women who found a way to make, and in some cases, really, really work well in that system. But eventually, women got tired of being simply seen as property. And rightly so. It's dehumanizing. They stepped up. They fought for their rights. They got the right to vote. They got plenty of other rights. And they almost got the Equal Rights Amendment, which they should have had. There's still a lot of battles to fight. Equal pay, for example, for equal work. Now you're saying, well, that's a bunch of liberal horse hockey. And yeah, this goes back 30 years. But I remember in my youth there was a moment where my mom and a guy that she worked with did the exact same job. My mom was struggling to put food on the table for 2 kids. Well, this guy got paid much more than she did. Didn't have that problem. They did the exact same job. They had the exact same amount of experience. And yet, he got paid more than she did. There's a reason why the vast majority of companies don't want their employees to discuss compensation. Because a lot of companies pay men more than women. That's a fact. No matter, there are very few workplaces where you can actually openly discuss how much you make. Sure, in most cases you can get away with it because your bosses probably have much more important things to worry about than you going, well, I get paid $9.50 an hour. Oh, I get paid $11.10 an hour. Oh, I make $12.30 an hour. Jobs are different. There's level of tenure and such, and but it's a fact that in a lot of cases, over the years, we've seen where a woman who has just as much experience as a man gets passed over for a promotion, gets passed over for a raise. It happens. It may not happen as much as it used to, but it's still there. There is still discrimination, and it's still going on. And it has to be fought against. But there are people who want to pretend it doesn't exist so they can go back to that system to bring back the so-called good old days. What does this have to do with the massacre in California? A lot. There are still men out there in this Christian nation of America who want to control women. Just like those evil Islamic terrorists control women. Those poor girls who are kidnapped by Boko Haram in Nigeria, who you wouldn't have given a damn about, and now all of a sudden the right wing's going, we ought to go in there and rescue those girls, even though it's a sovereign country. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. We don't respect sovereignty in this country because we are America. We're the world's police force. Unless, of course, Obama is in charge, and then how dare he use his force to free these people when he could go in and protect Christians in some other country that, you know, I don't know. It's stupid. It really is. If you look throughout history, the only difference between Islam and Christianity in the way they treat women is that in the Western world, there was, in the last century, a women's rights movement that succeeded. The only reason it didn't succeed or hasn't succeeded in the Islamic world is that the regimes have put it down harshly. And the ones where women do have a lot of rights, there are borders, there are boundaries. Take Saudi Arabia, for example. Women have very few rights. They can't even drive a car. It's not about religion. Let's take that off the table right here and now. It's not about religion. It's about control. It is this fear in a lot of men that a woman is going to be better than you at something. It is the fragile male ego. Pure and simple. And I've seen it played out many, many times. Hell, I'm a guy. I know how it is. You get beat by a woman, you got your guy friends taunting you about it. Oh, you got beat at basketball by this girl. Huh, huh. Yeah, the girl that beat me played varsity for the basketball team, and I was a schmuck who could occasionally hit a jumper. The fact is that there are men who can't handle living in an sort of equal world with women. They can't stand having women do the jobs that men used to do exclusively. They can't handle it. And they hear from their preachers on the TV or in their churches or wherever that we need to return America back to some glorious past where men were men and the women were proud of it. That's gone. Because, let's face it, if you're a man who has a woman at home that is a housewife and you have a regular 9-to-5 job, it's brutal. In a lot of cases, that housewife is also finding ways to save money or in ways to make money. But more and more, it's two working parents in a household. Pure and simple. Because it's not because they don't want to, the woman doesn't want to be a housewife. It's because they can't. You got kids, you got bills. And seeing your wife make more than you do, to some men, is appalling. To me, I'd be like, whatever. I'm fine. So what? Means, we work together. It's getting more money in the house to make a better life for ourselves. Because maybe I'm weird. Maybe it's because I realized. Maybe it's because I'm from a single parent household and the mom was the breadwinner. But hey, if I were married and my wife were making more than me, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd be happy with it. I'd be trying to make more money myself. But I expect her to do the same thing, to try and get raises and make more money and have a better life for ourselves. But there are some men who, for some reason, see this as emasculating. And that word rings true in this massacre because this guy felt emasculated that these women who he pursued wouldn't sleep with him. There are some who say, well, the women should have put out for him, blah, 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 blah. That has to be the dumbest excuse for anything. A woman is entitled to control of her body. If a woman wants to have sex with me, I'm all for it. Provided I'm attracted to her and, there's chemistry there. But if a woman doesn't want to have sex with me, that's her prerogative. I'm not going to force myself on somebody who doesn't want to have sex with me. Unfortunately, there are some guys who believe that they have that right because they feel like that they are entitled. There's a reason why rapes are not reported as well as they should be. Because for some reason, in this great country of ours, we have to victimize women. Sure, it's not as bad as it is in some Islamic countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and such, where if a woman dares to report a rape, she's the one thrown in jail, and she's the one accused of adultery, and she's the one that's probably going to be put to death for having the gall to actually allow herself to be raped. Here in America, it's just a simple matter of, well, you were raped, you deserved it, you had it coming. Because you wore a skirt that was too short, you wore a top that was too revealing, you wore too much makeup, you acted a little slutty. This is ridiculous. I mean, a woman could walk buck naked down a street. That doesn't mean you have the right to throw her down and bang her on the street and rape her there in the middle of broad daylight. I don't care how hot she looks. No means no. Period. Even if she brings you to her room, even if she's partly into the whole sexual intercourse thing, if she starts to feel uncomfortable and changes her mind, that's it, boys. It's over for the night. Because she has that right. She has that control over her body. Just as the same as a man has control over his body for a woman. It would be just as bad if a woman forced herself onto a man and the man was saying, stop, 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 and the woman was forcing him into her. That would be rape as well. That rarely happens. Or it rarely happens because the men who get raped don't report it for the shame of it. But sadly, it seems like we're regressing. We've gone to the point where, because we're trying to so-called bring God back to America, we have to regress on equal rights, on civil rights, on a lot of other rights, and supposedly return this country back to God, when last I heard God was an omnipotent being. He could be anywhere he damn well pleased. It's kind of hard to keep God out of your life if God's there, okay? All right. Oh, man. But, look, the guy is a loser that did this. He could have all the mental problems in the world, but the fact of the matter is, there are guys just like him who rape women, who abuse women, who belittle women, who will, after being rejected by a woman, will do everything they can to get back at the woman. Look, if there was a woman I really wanted to date because I really dug her, didn't happen. I thought we'd have been great together, but she's dating somebody else now, and I'm fine for the most part. It does sting a little bit, but I'm used to it. Does that mean I should force myself onto her and to punish her for having the audacity of rejecting me? No. Does that mean that I have the right to belittle this woman, to shame her, blah 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 blah? No. And this certainly means I don't have the right to kill this woman for having the audacity of rejecting me. So, in conclusion, we are a fucked up nation. We don't need God. God's already here. The problem is a lot of people are using religion to twist it to their own personal agendas. We need common sense. We need respect for individuals, respect to women, respect to elders, respect to people who are unfortunate, who are poor, who are disabled. We are a country that thrives on being able to disrespect somebody, on being able to belittle somebody that's different, that has the audacity to be different. Oh my God, that's an atheist. For shame. He is a heathen. He should be punished, thrown in jail, boiled in oil, and whatever else. Oh my God, those two women are kissing together. They're surely going to hell, and they should be thrown in jail and should never be allowed to marry because blah, 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 blah. And instead of going, well, you disagree with me, you don't believe in God, I believe in God, we just have to agree to disagree about that. Oh, there are two women who want to get married. Well, it's not necessarily kosher in my Bible, but this is a secular country, and since it doesn't really interfere with my life, let them have their happiness. But in this country, Christianity isn't about faith. It ain't about praising Jesus. It's about control. Now, there are truly people out there who really are faithful, who really believe, talk the talk, walk the walk of Christ, so to speak. But more often than not, the Christians I know, one way or another, it ain't about Christ. It's about their own interpretation of His words and the words in the Bible. It's their own agenda driving their decisions. Would it kill Americans not to have prayers? Would we be destroyed as a nation if we decided we're not going to have prayer at town meetings and invocations at football games and blah, 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 blah. Instead, relegate them to private ceremonies. As long as voluntary prayers are allowed, mandatory ones are not permitted under the Constitution. But there are people with an agenda who want to use Christianity to basically take over control of the country. If you believe for 1 second the Republicans are truly small government, no. They want corporations to be governments. And they also want government to be able to tell you what you can do in your own home. What you can watch, what kind of sex you can have, what kind of food you can eat. That's what it's coming to. So, you don't see the agendas. And yeah, the left has plenty of agendas as well. But it seems like the most anti-American agendas that goes against the spirit in which this country was founded tend to be on the right side of the political spectrum. And yet they consider themselves the most patriotic, the most religious, the most worthy of Christ's love. If we don't change things soon, something very bad is going to happen in this country. It won't be because of Russia. It won't be because of China. It won't be because of Islamic terrorists. It won't be because of Cuban socialists or socialism or anything like that. It's because we will have realized that that other guy, I don't like him, I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to impose my agenda at the end of a gun. The only nation that can destroy this country is America. And we're doing a damn good job of it. Osama bin Laden may be dead, but he's laughing in hell at us because he is winning right now. And you don't want to admit that? Now, the right wing doesn't want to admit that. Hell, the left wing don't want to admit that. But that is the damn truth. We've let that son of a bitch win. Ever since 9/11, we've torn each other apart, and we were doing a damn good job of it before then. And gun rights is one reason for that dissension into chaos. We're the United States of America, damn it. We got to start acting like it. For the Forest City Tribune podcast, my name is John Thomas Hill. Good night, good luck, and may the good news be yours. Opening and closing themes taken from the Global Network's local news and national news themes, Global Television Canada. This presentation of the Forest City Tribune podcast is a presentation of Rutherford Media Ventures, located in Rutherford, North Carolina. For all of us here at RSN Studios, good night, good luck, and may the good news be yours. And be sure to tune in to our other podcast, the RSN Radio Podcast, also the Rutherford Times Podcast. Thank you for listening and hope you have a great evening.